Hey everybody, this is the Review Revolution coming at you with a Masters of the Universe Happy Meal review. Good time, great taste of He-Man. Ooh, okay. That didn't go over very well. Alright, well, out of the 8 figures that were in the line, taking a look at the first 4, we have Orko, Man-at-Arms, Beastman, and Ram-Man. And for the most part, they're cool-looking figures. I guess going with probably the weakest of them is Orko. Don't get me wrong, not a bad interpretation of Orko. Certainly, a pretty accurate version of him from the show. But overall, his paint job around the ears, and the fact that only his arm, this one arm, which is on a ball hinge, if you can imagine. This is actually on a balled hinge. It's the only articulation that he has. Now, his feet are part of his little gimmick. He's got his little key to wind him up. But being that he's a hollow piece of plastic, just molded and painted very badly, you can see splatters all along there. I guess this is probably the one that, if somebody told me that you get Masters of the Universe figures in a McDonald's bag, this is what I'd expect they would all be like. And thankfully they're not. Orko just is the one that is stereotypically what you'd expect. The key, of course, as I'm sure you can imagine, does wind up, letting Orko do a little bit of a jig. Which, I would much rather seen them get rid of Orko and bring in, I guess maybe Trapjaw or someone, another villain, certainly someone of higher quality than that. But, he was a cheap one. He was probably pretty easy to throw in there, so I can forgive that. Ram-Man, which, if you listen, I'm not sure you can hear that, there's a piece of plastic I think is broken off, because according to his little card that's inside, if you push down on his feet, he's supposed to do a headbutt, but it doesn't work. Now again, I got mine off of eBay, so I can kind of accept the fact that one of them has a problem. Again, these are fast food premiums. They did come out of Happy Meal packs, so I don't expect a whole lot. In this case, if I just take his arm, you can kind of see how his head is supposed to bump up and down. And the screws in the back are pretty easy to get to, so I'm sure that if I open him up and take a look at him, it probably wouldn't be too hard to go ahead and find a way to fix it. Looking at the figure, though, you can see on the face, great interpretation of the Ram-Man that we got from the 2002 series. He looks good. His paint job's awesome. He's a complete opposite of Orko. I'm just a little disappointed that he's broken. I think Ram-Man would have been a really fun one. Next, now we're getting into some of the really, really impressive stuff, and this is where you're really going to see what I mean, that how these figures, had they been packaged on blister card, could really have stood on their own on retail shelves. There's no question about it. You look at Man-at-Arms, and you look at the kind of sculpting that they've put on the figure, the kind of detail work that's on here, that's just cool. That is just done so well. Underneath, you can see they've sculpted his mustache and got that big chin, that big heroic chin. He's got all the little doodads and stuff on his helmet, as well as all the gears and hoses on his back. This is a very impressive Man-at-Arms. His articulation, just like a Star Wars figure, and as I've mentioned before, arms, legs, and head are what I require for it to be called an action figure. Now, the action feature they gave him pretty much means that this arm is in one spot. And it is a little disappointing of an action feature. I would have just assumed left it alone, because he has a shield that when you push the button, it falls off. I'm guessing it's supposed to be a spring-loaded kind of feature or something, but for whatever reason, it doesn't do anything more than just fall off. If he would have had his mallet that would have been really cool, then this would have been probably the best figure in this line of McDonald's premiums. But just because of the amount of detail they give him, I certainly put him pretty much almost at the top. He is just a really cool figure. I like the Man-at-Arms. Of course, I've been a big fan of Duncan for a while, so. Beastman, now, he is actually the largest figure in the line. He's actually sculpted with all his fur. All his fur is sculpted on there. His armor, very stylized, very much like what you would have seen from the cartoon. He has articulation in his legs, in his arm, and in his head. And just like most figures, even like the Super Friends or the Superpowers line, there is a button that you push on the back, giving him kind of a, beat you over the head kind of thing going. But just like Man-at-Arms, you look at his legs and his shaggy shorts, the belt. These are all really good. These are sculpted very nicely. The face is painted really well. And just so much more than I had expected from McDonald's, from this line. To be honest, I didn't even know this line had come out. I would have been at the drive-thru in a heartbeat. But I found them, thought that's kind of a cool idea. Weren't too expensive. Picked them up, and as soon as I got a look at them through the bags, I knew that they were going to be something kind of special, something different. So this has been a look at just the first 4 figures that McDonald's presented us with. Just a moment, we'll go ahead and do the review on He-Man with Battle Cat and Skeletor with Panthro, and get a look to see some of the cool stuff that they do. So I certainly thank you for watching. This has been the Review Revolution, saying rate, comment, subscribe, join the revolution, and I'll see you guys real soon.